this is Victoria, and today I wanted to talk about epigenetics. It's a subject which absolutely fascinates me because it gives us our power back. It puts us at cause. It means that we're in control of our destiny. You know, in the past, we were told that you would get certain genes from your mum, certain genes from your dad, and that's your DNA, and that's fixed, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you could be born with a genetic weakness for asthma or a genetic weakness for cancer, and that was just tough luck, and maybe you could get medications from the doctors for those diseases, but unfortunately there's nothing you can do about it. So if you get certain illnesses, everyone in my family's fat, I've just got the fat gene. But you know what I mean? We were told that we are just as a result of our genes that we got from our parents, right? The problem for me with that is that if you look at maybe last year when Angelina Jolie, she was told that she had a gene for cancer, and she had a double mastectomy, and she is a role model for millions probably of women around the world. But say thousands of these women also have this cancer gene, and they look up to her and they think, wow, she is a top paid model in Hollywood, or actress even, and she's got access to the top physicians in the world. She's got money abound. She can afford the best of the best, and they advised her to get a double mastectomy, and she didn't even have cancer. Let's just think about that. She wasn't even sick yet. They advised her to have a double mastectomy because she has a gene, which means that she might one day get cancer. So there's lots of women who have their whole lives ahead of them. They haven't necessarily even had children yet, and they're having their breast cut off. They're going to their doctors and they're saying, well, this is the advice that Angelina Jolie was given. Maybe we should do the same? And because she's such a role model and that's what she's been told, and obviously she can afford the best, so that must be the right thing to do, right? Well, no, it's not. But people, they think that they're the effect of their genes. So this is epigenetics. It's fascinating. Stay with me, please, okay? So basically, what is epigenetics? Well, we have our DNA, and our DNA can't be changed. But what can be changed is our epigenetic markers. And what the epigenetic markers are is they're basically tell our body which genes to read and which genes not to read. So, imagine we've got our eye, you've got your liver, you've got the same genes in your eye as you have in your liver, as in your tongue, as in everything. But what makes one part of your body an eye and the other part a finger is that your body knows, okay, it's reading, and it's these markers which say, okay, we're going to read this particular gene right now, and then it knows what to do at a specific time. So back in, I think it was the year 2000, they started studying these agouti mice. And these agouti mice had this agouti gene, and it meant that the mice were very fat, and they suffered from diabetes and cancer, and they tended to die very young. And what they decided was they figured out that it was caused by this agouti gene, and they said, well, what happens if we can maybe do something with this gene, and maybe these mice will be born healthy? But rather than actually going in and changing the genes, they decided what happens if we can actually affect the epigenetic markers which are sitting on top of the genes. Now this is like completely new study, and they decided to do that by feeding the mice who are going to become pregnant these methyl donors. And when I'm not a scientist, so I don't really know how to explain it scientifically, but basically it was by feeding it certain foods which have these methyl donors in, which have the ability to affect these markers on our genes. And so they fed these mice lots and lots of greens, right? Green leafy vegetables. And this mother, who was an agouti mouse, she was this fat mouse with yellow fur. She gave birth to beautiful mice. They were thin, and they had this brown fur, shiny fur, and these mice weren't susceptible to cancer or diabetes, and they lived long lives. So even throughout the life of the mouse, that gene never got turned back on again. So, I mean, then they discovered that, wow, the food that the mammal eats when it's pregnant affects the genes of its offspring, and so that was the start of epigenetics, and it was like, wow, we can affect our and this is a scientific study now, so it's not just, you know, holistic practitioners saying, wow, nutrition is important. This is actually scientists are saying, yes, we can affect our health through what we do. And what they discovered is, so these epigenetic markers, they're adaptable, so they're everything that we do in life affects these epigenetic markers. So even if, say, your mother didn't eat all the most nutritious food in the world, don't fear, because what you do right now today can affect your health. The food you eat, the thoughts you think, whether you do exercise or not, whether you smoke or not, all of those things affect your destiny, affect whether you're going to get cancer or not, whether you put certain chemicals on your skin or not. You know, so we know today that there's lots of you know, creams and lotions and potions that contain carcinogenic ingredients. Well, if you are susceptible to getting cancer, don't put those ingredients on your skin. I mean, we know that women who breastfeed are less likely to get breast cancer. So, you know, breastfeed your kids. Make it a choice. Make it a choice to do things which are going to leave you healthy. It's all a choice. So we don't have to blame our parents for, you know, where we are. We need to make a decision right now that we are going to be responsible for who we are in life and for our health. So epigenetics, it's absolutely fascinating because, you know, on one level it shows that they did these studies, I think it was in Sweden, and it was showing that if people who smoked when they were very, very young, when they were like 12 or something, that actually affected not just the next generation, but 2 generations on. It affected the genes of their offspring. But what they also noticed is like things like whether there was feast or famine in the same area affected, you know, if there was famine in that area, it meant that the offspring tended to live longer. So it's interesting that on one level that, you know, what we're doing right now is affecting your grandchildren. So it's so important what you do. It's not just for you anymore. But on another level, that even though we may have been born with certain markers on or off, I mean, we can still change that right now. We still have a choice. Every single thing that we do affects our health. So then they started looking at humans and with regard to epigenetics, and they studied identical twins, because identical twins have exactly the same DNA, and they wanted to see which traits were we born with that we can't do anything about, and which traits are affected by our environment and our lifestyle choices. And they noticed that a lot of the main diseases that we have, such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, these are all lifestyle driven. And what they did was, say for example, one twin might, you know, she'd stayed in the UK, she lived the same lifestyle as her family, and the other one, she might have moved to America and she might have been on a health buzz, and, you know, she lived a certain way, whilst the other twin, she smoked and she ate, you know, takeaway dinners every evening. And so whilst one twin was very healthy and thin at the age of 50, the other twin, you know, had suffered from crippling arthritis, she had diabetes, type 2, and she, you know, she'd even had cancer, and so basically what they're showing is that these are diseases of excess or diseases of lifestyle choices. And what I wanted to say to you today, if there's only one thing that you get from this video, is that you are in control of your destiny. When it comes to your health, you have a choice, not just of your own destiny, but of, you can have impact today by the foods that you eat and the thoughts that you think. You are impacting not just yourself, but future generations that you may have in the future, and that's men and women. So, and I want you to be empowered. I want you to know that you can make choices which are going to affect your health. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd like to know what you think of epigenetics, and if you think anything different from me. I'm always open to learning new things, and I look forward to speaking with you in a future video. Thanks.